There are a couple of new tags doing the rounds at the moment, and a couple of people have asked me to participate, so I decided to combine them because the topics are not too dissimilar. The first tag that I was asked to participate in is called Why Live with No God, or Without God, and the second tag I was asked to participate in was just called Why Live. Now the second one is quite a bit deeper than the first one, but still there are certain areas of overlap there, so I thought I might be able to address them in the one video. The Why Live Without God tag, I was tagged by TheMudBrooker, and the other tag I was actually tagged by two people, by VisionGhostPoet and by DavidRandallCurtis. So that's another fine mess you've got me into. Anyway, okay, the first question, why live without God, I think is, for me, very, very easy to answer. And I'm afraid my answer is going to be extremely facetious, because I live without God for the same reason that I live without a second head. I don't have a second head. There is no God. I cannot live with something that does not exist. And since there is no God, living without a God comes naturally. Of course, you can look at this at a slightly deeper level and wonder why I feel no need to believe in a God. Why the belief in a God is in no way attractive to me. Now, one answer to that is that I know for a fact that there is no God. That is something that I know beyond any reasonable doubt. Now, it is something that I've addressed in many different videos, but basically the argument boils down to, when people talk to me about God, they talk to me about their God, their own God. And that means that in the large majority of the cases when people talk to me about God, they are either talking about Yahweh or Allah or some such entity. And those entities, as far as I'm concerned, are figments of the imagination. They are clear human inventions, and they have clearly been manipulated over the centuries by humans for their own purposes. That such entities could be represented by anything that exists in reality is too preposterous to even contemplate, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm not going to go there. But why live then? Some people might ask. Why even bother living? Of course, typically that would be the sort of question that would be asked of an atheist, especially a positive atheist like me. And by positive atheist, I mean somebody who positively asserts that there is no God. Why bother? If there's nothing greater out there that gives your life meaning, then why even bother living? Well, look at it from my perspective rather than from your own, because that is the mistake that an awful lot of religious people make when they cannot understand what makes life worth living for somebody like me who is an atheist. Look at it from my perspective. Look at it from an Epicurean perspective, because that is pretty much 99% of the time where I am actually coming from. When I contemplate existence, reality, living, it's from that perspective. The reason why I live is because there is nothing else for me to do. I cannot do anything without being alive. The moment I am not alive, the moment I'm dead, I have ceased to exist. There is therefore nothing for me to experience. There is therefore nowhere for me to be, nothing for me to do. The only things that I can ever do are things that I can do while I'm alive. And that includes all these deep considerations that many people have when they're looking at questions like this. That includes seeing my daughter grow up, for example. That includes enjoying my life with my family and my friends. Of course it does. But basically what it boils down to in the end is that there are no experiences for me outside life. Just like there is nothing outside reality. There cannot be anything outside reality, because if it's outside reality, it's not real and it therefore doesn't exist. And if it's outside the span of my life, then as far as I'm concerned, it does not exist. And therefore, for me, the best thing to be is alive, because that is how I experience things. That is what makes existence what it is. I cannot exist without being alive. And that is why I am alive, for as long as it's going to take. That is also why I am not in the slightest bit bothered by the idea that one day I will cease to exist. Because at that point, I will not exist. I will not be there to be bothered by that fact. And that is something that an awful lot of religious people cannot get their head around. To them, the idea of non-existence is an abhorrent black void in which they are too afraid to stare. I am not. Non-existence is something that will naturally follow my lifespan. But it's not something that I am bothered by. I am alive because I enjoy life. I am alive because I love life. I am alive because I love the people that I share my life with. And what better reason would anybody need to be alive?